Hi, everyone.
I love you, Mom.
Were you able to get the updated case presentation that I emailed? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Bye.
All right. Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
Okay. We're just waiting for Tasha. I know she been kind of like worried about it because she was asking me all day, what do I got to do? I'm like, I don't know, but she's good.
She's a facilitator.
Yes. Okay, I just text her. Did Zoom already let you guys know that it's being recorded? Y'all came in? Oh, okay.
I just figured.
Oh, okay. She's trying to find a Zoom. Oh, she's trying to find a Google Doc. Hold on. Let me just send it to her. So I feel like I am like well, not really me, because I already know what my issues are, but like this is kind of like the like we're thrown to the wolves because we just gotta be the first ones up. So we're gonna see how it go. Hey Tasha.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm the computer illiterate one in the group. I told y'all. So.
It's okay. It's okay. So whenever you're ready to go, we're already being recorded. What I'm going to do is I'll just edit it up to where you just joined at, and then I will email it to you after tomorrow. I'll email everything to you. Well, no, I'm sorry. I won't be able to email it to you because the file is going to be too big. What I'm going to have to do is drop it in the UB box like that.
Okay.
Okay. And that's how I'll do for everybody. All right.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, Tasha.
Oh, I thought we had to do it with the class.
No, it's us, just us.
I didn't know that. Okay. Okay. I'm introducing Gloria. She will be talking about her experiences with having a Black History program introduced with the high school and how she feels about that.
So,
So, Gloria, do you want to start?
oh, sure. Yes. So, part of my internship, we had the other intern and I, we had to do lesson plans for Black History Month. So we had to come up with all these ideas, and for our meeting with the target system, which was a lady named Sue at Amherst Central High School. Once we had our meeting with her, she told us that we had 20 minutes doing homeroom to actually do whatever lesson plans we were going to do. So I'm like, okay, great, 20 minutes, that's fine. Or no, she said we would have 15 minutes because the teachers need 5 minutes to take attendance. Okay, great. And in the meeting, I kind of noticed that she kept saying African American history, but as the Black person, I don't want to educate another white person about it. Every Black person is not African American, and because they don't put the origin on white people, I feel that that's problematic, and it creates further division. You don't say European American, you don't do that. And if a Black person from Canada came over to the US, they're not African American, but you're not doing it. You're only doing it because they're specifically Black, So I think that's rooted in white supremacy, and it just needs to be redefined. It also makes me think about who was the stakeholders when they decided these titles for everyone. There was no Black person there, So I just think that when for her to just say African American History Month, that was a problem. So I had a meeting with the other intern, and her and I talked about it. And funny, because she's just trying to be culturally aware, she brought it to my attention, and I explained to her, like, I just don't want to always correct somebody. But then while her and I was in a meeting, I got an email again from the lady Sue, which was actually sent out to all the high school members, which indicated Black African American History Month. Now it's one thing for a person to say it in a conversation, but when you're continuing to perpetuate and educate everybody underneath that stance, I feel like that's you're uneducated in that area. And although you may be trying to do well, you're not really doing well, So that was a problem for me. And then they minimized our time for presentations to 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, now how do we actually get this in 5 minutes? So I created some PowerPoint slides, just hitting the points. I didn't want anything that the students had to unpack or anything that the teachers would have to truly understand before they did a lesson on it. And that was another problem itself. The delivery method wasn't from me. It was coming from a white teacher that may not be in tune also, just like the target system was not in tune with what was going on. So I felt like we had so many bridges with that. So it was, and also the principal did not want us to talk about specific content like Black Lives Matter, didn't want us to use the Black fist, didn't want to talk about police brutality. And to me, that is all part of Black History Month. We wouldn't be celebrating Black History Month if none of that other stuff did not happen, and the police brutality continues to this day. And the policy is so intertwined with this within schools. It just shows how different a school in Amherst is in comparison to the city of Buffalo. And I'm not sure, I talked to a girlfriend of mine. She's an assistant principal in a Black school. And I asked her, and I also work for the Buffalo School District, but I asked her, I said, what are y'all doing? Do you guys call it African American history? Because I wanted to make sure I had all my information before, I kind of took my problem to my field educator, and she was like, no, we don't call it Black History Month. And the problem is, the reason why Amherst do it is because they're predominantly white. The inner city of Buffalo don't do it because they're predominantly Black, so there's a cultural divide. And I think that, there needs to be some meeting, so it was just, I don't know if like my feelings are misguided and I feel like this because I'm Black, it's myself. But also another point is that Black history, our culture has been ripped away from us. So to say you're African American or you're this, you're not, you know what I'm saying? You can't tell me what I honestly did not know who I was until, Dawn, you was in my class before when I said I did the ancestry DNA. Till that day, that was in oppression, diversity and oppression class. So I literally did not know my lineage up until then. So just because you see a Black person does not mean they're African American. Kamala Harris ain't Black. I mean, I'm sorry, she's not African American, so
Right.
I feel like putting us all and trying to say we're African American, that's not. And I feel like with the white supremacist lens, they do that because they need the numbers. Because if you look at the census, it says white or Caucasian, and it's just so they can have the numbers. If they separate it with their origin and before Caucasian, or if they did that, their numbers will be very, very slim, and they wouldn't be the majority. So it's just so much. But yeah, so
Okay.
it was a lot.
Okay,
So.
thank you, Gloria. I'm gonna have to interrupt so we can have enough time because we're only here to 7. Is that correct, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so we can have enough time to get to everyone. Thank you. Does everybody feel like they understand after reading what Gloria sent us? Thank you very much for that, Gloria. After reading what Gloria sent us and how she presented, does anybody else have any questions? Do we understand what the topic was?
Can I just say one
Does
thing?
everybody feel like Gloria presented? Yes, Gloria.
I just want one of my problems is I don't know if I'm misguided in how I feel, or
Okay.
because I said that already. Sorry, keep going.
Okay, so is that what you want us to focus on? You want us to understand? You want us to answer? Are you misguided in how you feel?
Yeah, like am I?
Okay.
Am I validated in my feelings? I know they're my feelings, but
Okay.
like looking at the bigger picture, is it really that big of a deal? Like I'm not really sure. I feel how I feel, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Sarah, I'm going to start with you because you're the first one I see. So Sarah, you're going to answer. Do we know how we're doing this with the questions?
Yeah, I think we just go down the list.
Okay. All right, Sarah, we're going to start with you.
Okay, I'll start. So Gloria, what are your best hopes for this consultation, which you may have already answered?
Well, yeah, I just hope that you guys can just let me know, like, should I feel the way I feel and why I feel the way I feel. And I just don't want it to affect me in the long term, so yeah.
Should I keep going or should someone else do the next question?
How many questions? I want to make sure we're all, because these are 7 questions and there are only 4 of you.
It's actually more than 7 questions. If you look at it, it says on a scale of 1 to 10, it's actually 3 questions. Like on number 4, it's 3 questions there.
I think we can just go like in whatever order and then just.
Okay, we'll do it that way. Okay, yeah. Dawn.
Okay. This is kind of similar to the first one, I guess, but what are your best hopes for the situation?
Well, I feel like because it's isolated, the reason why I say it's isolated because it's Black History Month, it's almost over, and moving forward, it's really nothing that we can do. I hope though that the information that we actually presented for the students is really impactful and they actually understand the difference between Black and African American and not understand to compile everyone together in that sense, But I guess if you call them everybody Black, it's compiling each other together too. But I just think that African American, it can be viewed as derogatory. So I just hope that the information is understood.
Okay. Shanita.
So suppose that the best hopes for this situation are realized, what would be different for you?
So if the best hopes is to know that I'm not misguided and I'm validated in my feelings, it will actually make me feel like I'm a good social worker, like maybe, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to feel like I'm nitpicking something, because if I want to be be good at what I do, I need to pick and choose my battles, you know, and is this a fight that only I'm facing, or is this something similar that other Black individuals might face, you know, and I'm not gonna even say Black individuals, but people of other different cultures might face, you know, because I've had this conversation with other Black people, and it's something that they don't think about a lot. You get what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, you know, but if you look at people from different age brackets, they think about that because they've been called colored, they've been called Black. So I think that
that's a good point, because I never thought about it until you said that. I never thought about Black versus African American until you said that. Because I think I told you that.
I've thought about it. I've thought about it. Yeah. Because it's just, there's a difference between, it's just a difference. I don't have any touch with any African roots. Unfortunately, I would love to. There are actual African people here, not just us. So to put us all under that umbrella, like you're mixing in cultures. Black American culture is much different from, let's say, a Nigerian American family or a Ghanaian American family. We don't have that.
Yeah,
They
you're right.
have. So we can't just.
I think you're right, because my sister and I had that conversation. She was like, well, I consider myself Black. Why do you say African American? I said, she's like, Tasha, we're really mixed up. And then when my grandparents recently passed away, and we found out that my grandfather was half white, and I was like, wow. And my dad didn't find these because we're very light. So I always went through all my life like, are you white or are you Puerto Rican? So me and my sister had to go through that our whole life, and it's a big joke in our family. Because my dad and my grandmother are lighter than me, and it's always been a big joke. And when we found that out, we were like, wow, so we are really like, you know, so we're finding more and more about our culture. And we were like, we really are really mixed up. Like, oh my, especially after you took your DNA test, Gloria, I was sharing that with my family. So my sister's like, yeah, so you need to stop saying that. And then when you said what you said, the topic of this, I was like, wow, I was really thinking about it. So yeah, I never thought about it either. But when you check a lot of those boxes, a lot of them don't have Black on there. It has African American or Caucasian.
Right.
Or it says,
and then
and I'm like, I never consider myself biracial or other.
Right.
So
we have Caribbean American people here too. They're not African. They're Caribbean. That's a completely different culture.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I
so
noticed
I'm all mixed. I'll never know what to check.
When I was in ECC, I took human behavior class, human interactions, and my instructor, he actually broke that down, and he said he always put other, or he'll write it in, and they don't have that on a lot of forms, and they just want to put us in that box. And a lot of places do it so they can get funding, you know, and I don't think don't get funding on my behalf, you know, like put it in my pocket. But yeah.
Right. Okay. So the next one, number 3, Jessica, were we on number 3, Shanita?
We were on number 3. If you want, I can go through these questions, but I feel like we low-key just answered all of them.
Okay. All right. So we'll go to number 4, Jessica.
On a scale from 1 to 10, where 10 would be meeting your goal of kind of having some like clarity on your feelings. And 1 stands for like the complete opposite, I guess. So where would you be?
Well, right now, after meeting with my field educator about the situation, Dr. Baugh, she was able to give me some insight. So right now, I do kind of feel like maybe at like an 8, I would say, you know, she
That's
did.
good.
Yeah. So, but I still feel like it's still wrong and nobody should be doing it. But I also know that it's not, I can't fix a meso problem, right? The problem is meso, you know, so I can't fix a meso problem right now. And I kind of look at life as like a chess piece. Like what piece are you depends on how powerful you are, what kind of moves can you make. And as a student, I'm just a pawn. I can't make those major moves, you know, but I feel like when I do become a school social worker, I can implement those changes and I see how people are addressed. So I feel like with our focus groups, this is something that I could do because we do focus groups with the students in Amherst as well. So in the focus groups, that's something I can bring awareness to, you know. But I think that this change, if the change was done on a meso level, that would just make me feel so much better, you know. But like I said, after talking with Dr. Ball, I definitely feel like at an 8 right now because she just gave me so much insight.
So how do you know that you're not at like a 7, for example?
So beforehand, okay, so I would say at a 5 because beforehand it didn't really bother me, right? But once I got that email, it just took me up there to like a 10. I wasn't going to say anything, but once I got the email, I had composed a long drafted email to Dr. Ball, you know, and that's why I said I went down to an 8. But when I'm rating myself, I'm looking at it from a Likert scale perspective. So if a 5 is medium, I'm, you know, like the 5 would be halfway point. I feel like I'm past the halfway point, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is that a good analogy?
That's a good
Yes,
analogy.
Okay.
Okay. Do you feel like we fully answered that question, Jessica, number 4?
Yeah, I'll just also add in what will be different one step higher on the scale. So like what will be different to make you go from an 8 to a 9?
That we actually are able to implement meso changes. So when I said it's a meso problem, I meant to say it's a macro problem. But if we can implement meso changes, I feel like that would be better.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to move us along because we're at 6:49. We might already answer this. Correct me, anybody, if we have. What are you already doing that is on track? Do you feel like you're already doing something?
Well, just having a conversation with my field educator.
Okay.
And being able to revisit, and we actually had extensive dialogue in our supervision about the situation. I sent her the email and we had a conversation about it. And the other intern, she's white, and you know she understood why I had those concerns, and you know she elaborated that fact that she was just trying to be conscious and aware. So
okay, and how are we incorporating trauma in this trauma-informed care?
Well, I feel like being aware in my lesson plans, I strictly, and Dr. Ball has said we can strictly address everything as Black History Month. So we were inclusive on everybody. And then that way, if the school introduced it as African American Month, they got the lesson from Challenge to Change as Black History Month. So we did not leave out Black students at that school that did not identify as African American, because in Amherst there's not a lot of Black and white. There's mixed race children that's white and Black, and there's a lot of Indian students, and you know, so students they're foreigners. They come here, so I felt like it was more inclusive that way.
Okay, I feel like we answered number 6. What do you all think?
What is the client?
You said, what is it already that is on track? What else is the client doing that is on track? I feel like we kind of answered that because I'm looking at the time.
But it's saying client target system. So I don't know what the target system, which is the individual, is doing. They're just emailing the lesson plans to the instructors to present. So I don't really have any information on that sense.
Okay. And I'll just do number 7 since it's 6:51. What is the next small step?
So we're starting another focus group coming on the March 4th. And our lessons that we already did, because we had our first focus group, we kind of tailored it to make sure that all these issues were actually addressed, because we don't know what the population we're going to have until our first meeting. And so we want to make sure we get all the rules out the way. We were going to actually include it in our initial rules, kind of like what we did as a group, our group values and rules. Excuse me.
So. Okay, and how would that be helpful?
Well, it's because I feel like we can always do a mental check. We'll repost the rules because everything is Zoom. We'll repost the rules in the chat box as a reminder, so we can make sure we respect everyone's boundaries, and so that everybody can understand, like, it's just, especially if you have a student that may have an upbringing from someone who is a little bit to the left, so that the language might be a little bit different, but we need to make sure we create safe environments or brave spaces, not necessarily safe/brave spaces for our participants to actually speak. So I think that creating this by doing our group values and group rules will actually help.
Okay. Does anybody have anything they want to add? Any more advice or recommendations they have for Gloria?
I would say, first off, that your feelings very much are valid. The fact that you feel something, period, is valid. I know that not everybody in our group is Black, but for the most part, I think we all identify as women, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but even womanhood, at sometimes you have instances where you're like, am I upset for no reason, or am I valid? You're valid. The fact that you feel something is valid. I also go through that as well a lot, even with our diversity and oppression classes. It seems like all we do is talk about the same anti-racism stuff, and it just like goes nowhere, because I've been Black the past 25 years of my life. None of this is new, but apparently for everybody it's new, and it gets draining. So I definitely understand where you come from with the exhaustion that comes from constantly having to take on that role as being a teacher, because a lot of times I find myself having to be a teacher, and I don't want that kind of labor. But you're valid.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add that. I don't want to take too long, but yeah, you absolutely are valid. And Shanita, you bring up a great point about being a woman and having to second guess yourself. But Gloria, I can't even imagine the frustration it is to have these feelings and know these things and be a Black woman and have the white people not listen to you, and then have that like, oh, is what I'm saying wrong? Am I wrong in thinking this? Or, I mean, is it just me, whatever? But it's not, and you're absolutely valid. And I'm glad that you brought it up.
Thank you.
I also think you're valid. I got aggravated when I subscribed to Netflix and Hulu, and on both of them they have a little section called Black Lives Matter movies, and I got aggravated by that. I was like, why do they gotta be called Black Lives Matters? Why do we just have a section of movies? Why do they even have to label it like that? And my daughter's like, well, I think that. I was like, no, they didn't have to do that. And at church, we always have a Black History program. And the kids were, they all pick out, every Sunday they talk about, the boys are doing some males and the girls are doing females. And we were telling them, no, we're not going to pick the same Harriet Tubman. We're going to go deep. We're going to pick something different, because y'all learned it. That's all y'all learn about in school. So that makes me mad that in school, children only learn about certain people. So
And even then, you don't really even learn about them.
Yeah, my daughter knows all about different people. And she talked about Angela Bassett because she loves Angela Bassett. And that's what she talked about in church yesterday. I'm just, why they only got to learn about certain people? That really acts. She's been little. I've bought books and she's learned about all different type of people. I'm sorry, go ahead, Shanita.
I think that my approach
Gloria.
with the lesson plan, it's okay. My approach with the lesson plans was totally different, because I know that's how they always do. You identify a successful Black person and we learn about them. So my approach with my lesson plans was about movements. So I did like, how did Martin Luther King's birthday became a holiday? I did how the Walk on Selma, and how the song Glory is actually a play on the words Glory is actually mirrored of the Black Lives excerpt and I Have a Dream speech, So then I did one on like Kamala, like how y'all see everything Rosa sat, so Ruby could run, and then all their reflections, so I kind of took a different approach, because I know everybody else is highlighting the specific people. And then like I even talked about the Black Wall Street, because if you just only talking about people, you don't forget the movements that they did as well,
I think that was really good. That was good, Gloria,
Yeah.
because you're actually teaching them something. You're teaching about the world and how relevant it is to right now, especially all the stuff that's been going on actually through the pandemic, which is interesting. So that I think that was good, because I think this is the most my daughter learned during this whole year. She was like, man, I'm learning about politics and I'm learning about pandemic and Black Lives Matter. Because she was like, I've learned about so much being home.
And I think like for me, I just, like I said, I want to take a different approach, but I also enjoyed doing the lesson plans. I just wish that was another issue. Like this was so fun for me, and to know only have 5 minutes, like you just took the real fun out of it. But I still wanted to put my best foot forward because this is something I created and I can reuse it, you know? So
Yeah.
Keep on it, so when you graduate, you work in the school, you can expand it. There you go.
exactly. And just so you guys know, teachrock.org, they have lesson plans on everything. So I just went and kind of condensed these lessons to just, utilize. So I was just super, super excited about it. And I think my joy was just crushed. So, but
I
yeah,
just wrote that down. I got that. Okay.
Beach Rock.
teachrock.org.
Beach Rock.
Gloria, I have a
.org.
question. I know we have like a second, but are these lesson plans something you can continue to do even after the month is finished? Or is it
Well, not with Amherst. So we had to put everything into a Google folder because they use Google out there, and then just gave them access to the Google folder so they can send it out to the teachers. But once we're done, I'm taking my stuff back, no longer have access. So, and I'll just keep them strictly for myself.
okay?
So you mean to tell me the only time they teach the kids about Black history is during Black History Month?
Right. That's what I'm
Please.
questioning. Like you put all this effort, you do all this work, and you want to this seems like a work in progress, obviously, because there's so many issues with it to begin with. And then it's only like relevant information for this one time. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, this can't be a consistent topic to be brought up throughout class, or like an allotted time every single day to like make sure Black history is being taught every day. You know, like, and it's just unfortunate that you only have this short amount of time, and even within this time, like this month, you only have 5 minutes, and then within those 5 minutes, they're not even giving you the correct like verbiage to even, and you're limited on what you can even talk about, which is also racist, to be honest.
It very much
can't
is
even
racist.
discuss the civil rights movement or the Black Lives Matter movement.
That's horrible.
Like, it's just, we could talk, like, I don't know, I feel like we really could like have an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour conversation, and like this, it's really hard doing this in 30 minutes. I find
that's why I thought we were doing it in class. I really did. I thought, that's why I was confused. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, it's okay. I figured this was going to be like difficult to do the first time because we're all like not 100% sure what she wants us to do.
You see, I'm like, okay, well, Gloria.
Well, I think
you did well.
Job.
I tried. My paper's gonna be, oh God.
And I think it's gonna be continuing to get better because we're picking up personal, like this was really personal to me, and I'm sure everybody else will have. I think I said this on the first day of school. I was like, I was dealing with this and this. So, and it really has been lingering because part of the reason I had, when Black Lives Matter really started really kicking off, and I had took Moot's class, and we talked about what were they doing to address these issues, and like one of the principals
class.
Yeah. And then the principal that they brought on was talking about all the things that they're doing, how diverse the schools were. But when they talk about diverse, they're not talking about Black and white. They're talking about white students. They might have some Indian students, but when we're talking about Black students, their Black ratio is really, really low. And the reason why I brought it up in Moot's class was because my girlfriend, who is a principal in Buffalo Public Schools, live out in Amherst. Her son goes to Amherst. The ratio for the student body, which is actually a federal law, that your student body, the teacher is supposed to mirror the student population. So it's a federal law, but it's not being enforced. When my girlfriend went to go actually pick up her son's stuff, and during the pandemic, they did a drive-by, and all the teachers were saying bye. Not one Black teacher was outside, not one. So this is a federal law that's not being enforced. So, and I can actually.
We have to go, guys. It's 7:02.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You'll get a tangent.
Thank you.
All right. You did good. See you in a little while.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.